Welcome to the Christ in Us Module Blueprint. My name is Jim Devlin, and this is the Module 4 application for Class DL5733, Design of Instructional Media. As an introduction, I work as an educational consultant for a small family publisher and have been working with Catholic schools and parishes for more than 2 decades. I also have served as a parish catechist and coordinator of a religious education program. And during most of that time, many parish religious education programs felt more like the older days of education. The thought of using technology would be like going to the moon for us. But internet access and digital technologies have become an integral part of today's instructional landscape, and the volunteer catechists are now striving to integrate technology into the class. The other concern is that these religious ed programs are serving Catholic students who attend public schools where digital instruction has been in place for a while. Now catechists are behind the 8 ball trying to catch up to better serve the digital natives in their classrooms. And that is where this module comes in. In Module 2 of this class, learners were identified who need to acquire the skills to effectively use the online resources of a new blended learning program. Through this exercise, the need of the course will be established along with measurable learning objectives, instructional strategies, and assessment tools. The blended learning program I mentioned is Christ in Us, a new program for kindergarten through grade 6. It was released in late spring 2020 and is now being used in a number of Catholic parishes and some schools in the Kentucky and Ohio region that I serve. As I was conducting parish and services and follow-up meetings this summer and fall, it became apparent that many of the catechists were not accessing the online content. Many reasons were given, but the two most popular were that they did not know how to use the christinus.com portal, or that they didn't feel comfortable teaching with technology. In addition, I conducted several in-class catechist observations last spring, and almost every class was taught with the catechist seated at a desk or on a stool in the front of the room, most often leading students in round-robin reading exercises. When asked how they like to learn, the catechist rattled off a variety of styles, but very few mentioned online learning. Added to that mix is that Christ in Us was designed using the Understanding by Design methodology, and this is completely new ground for the catechist. Most had been using one of our legacy programs, which was originally crafted in the early 2000s. And while it's been updated to reflect changes in the church, the pedagogy has never changed. It was a traditional program which worked well with traditional catechists teaching in traditional classrooms. But things are not traditional anymore. Who are these learners? They are the volunteer catechists of a pastoral region, which is a group of 3 parishes in Cincinnati, Ohio. They serve in 2 of the parishes, and all of them are parents, with most of their children having gone through the program itself. While internet accessibility is not an issue with this audience, using it well is for some, as technology skills are mixed. The median age is 53, and the catechists are predominantly female, and almost 70% are college graduates. 10% of the catechists work in local elementary schools, from teachers to librarians. The working title for this module is Getting Started with Christ in Us Online. In it are 6 lessons that are designed as an online learning experience, but the reality is we have some customers who will use this as a face-to-face setting. This module is a germination of an idea that was born in class DL5833, Evaluation and Assessment of Instructional Design. It will first be used on a catechist of the pastoral region I mentioned, and our goal is to focus on the noted weaknesses and help the catechist understand why that old style of teaching, such as those round-robin reading exercises, are just not working as well as we would hope. To get them online, the course will integrate components from christinus.com and its training site, Christ in Us Companion. For the instructional tools, we'll be using 2 specific ones from the Articulate 360 suite, Rise 360 for course creation and Peak for screencasting. The decision to use Rise over Articulate's more popular Storyline was forced by the fact that Storyline only works in Windows environments. I work in an Apple environment, and Rise 360 is the only web-based tool that Articulate has for course creation, so Rise it is. I've also been recording short how-to videos with Loom that were shared with customers, and those curated videos will be used here as well. The ChristNUS.com website will be used for its program content, and ChristNUS Companion, the training site hosted on Participate.com, will also provide video content. Initially, I'd envisioned this module as something to be done independently, but in meeting with the Pastoral Region's Director of Religious Education, he recommended pairing grade-level catechists from the two parishes to build a team. As budgets tighten, more of the region's ministries are joining forces, and the director wanted to start forging a team here. The added bonus is that they will form their own learning community, and for several of the grades, we will be able to pair younger, more tech-savvy catechists with older, less tech-savvy ones. It provides a generational role reversal that the younger members will be serving as digital mentors to their older partners. Course lessons will be online activities, along with offline ones such as creating and evaluating lesson plans. The hands-on work can be completed online or on paper at the discretion of the catechist. This authentic learning experience will use the real-world tools catechists will use in their classes, and it is a solid way to engage them as well as improve retention. The assessment plan features pre-course, formative, and summative assessments, all mapped to the Bloom's taxonomy levels of the course objectives. Lessons 1 and 3 will start with self-evaluations, and others will start with an activity to assess the retention of the previous lesson's content. Formative assessments will be included with every lesson through the RISE 360 knowledge checks, internet searches, and activities on ChristNUS.com and ChristNUS Companion. Every lesson concludes with a summative assessment where catechists work with their partners to complete lesson planning exercises and reflections. The course module was created after multiple in-services and discussions with the directors of religious education from different parishes. They noted instructional methods were dated, and as a result of the discussions and in-class observations, I needed to focus on 4 areas: how to teach the students more effectively, how to incorporate strategies from understanding by design into the classes, how to get into the online content, and how to use it in class, and finally, how to seek support online. From that list, 6 lessons were established, and the essential questions and objectives were crafted to address those needs. We will talk about those next. For the first lesson, we will answer the question, how do I get started? After completing this session, catechists will be able to demonstrate how to access the ChristNUS website by creating an account and then logging on. We'll start off with a self-evaluation to see what the technological abilities of the catechists are. And during the class, there will be knowledge check-ins to assure everyone is on the same page. And as we move through the steps, catechists will check off their progress on a provided checklist. The summative assessment will consist of the catechist's abilities to create an account on the website and then log into it. At some point, we all need a helping hand, so the second lesson will focus on how to find support on ChristNUS.com. Lesson 2's essential question, where do I go for help? After we are finished, catechists will be able to demonstrate how to access ChristNUS Companion and send a message through its messenger function. During the course of the lesson, we'll identify a code on the website the catechist will report back in that message. For differentiation, there are multiple codes available to share based on the ability of the catechist. After the first 2 lessons, catechists should have a rudimentary understanding of ChristNUS.com and ChristNUS Companion, so let's shift our attention to the classroom. The essential question for Lesson 3 is striving to get the catechist to think how to approach the class. How has learning changed since I was in school? After completing the session, the catechist will be able to compare differences in their own learning styles that they experience with those of today's learners. We will start with a self-evaluation survey of school memories. What was their favorite teacher? What did they do that was so memorable? Beyond that, we'll introduce different learning pedagogies that are relevant today, such as activity-based learning and understanding by design. The summative assessment will be a guided reflection designed to assess the catechist's understanding of the current pedagogies. Now that we have introduced catechists to modern styles, we can move more in depth into understanding by design. This will help answer the essential question, how do I teach using Christ in us? After completing the lesson, catechists will be able to analyze the Understanding by Design lesson flow in Christ in us, and will be able to do that through a matching activity. Throughout the lesson, we will have formative check-ins along with 4 scheduled formative assessments after each of the 4 steps of a Christ in Us lesson, which are the big question and opening prayer, encounter, accompany, and witness. For the 5th session, we'll get down to work planning our own class lesson, and that's reflected in our essential question, how do I put the lesson plan into action? After completing this session, catechists will be able to use the Christ in Us resource chart provided to design a lesson plan that will fill the time frame of their class. Now, as a veteran catechist, I will always stress the 1+5 formula that I've relied on for years. Catechists need to plan for an additional 5 minutes of class because time and again, that 10-minute activity you planned will only take 5. That is also the purpose of the formative assessment of time checks. The online lesson planner does have time suggestions for activities, but they are not always accurate in the real world. Now that we've created our lesson plans, is there anything we can do to improve them? That's the idea behind Lesson 6, how do I make lessons more memorable? After completing this session, the catechist will be able to review the lesson plan they've created and propose 3 ways to improve it. Working with a partner, they will complete a reflection and choose 3 new strategies to use in the class.